A. Ant. Antelope.
Letter A.
Right. Is that?
No, it's the letter A.
Oh,
All right.
Is that what you were I spying? The letter A?
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky, that.
Why have I ended up with A again?
A.
Hold on, also
anyone
ape.
can
Nobody's
decide.
had ape. Ape.
Up and down. That's the wishwashers. We can do it better than that.
Wipers on the bus go swish, 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 swish. Wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish. All day long, the babies on the bus cry wah, 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 la, 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 la. The babies on the bus cry wah, la, la.
To stop for an ice cream. Mum,
We're
my
stopping in a
earring-
bit.
Mum, my earrings hurting. Well, yeah, but what? It's in a bit.
In a while.
In a while.
As
Mum?
soon as we see one, we'll stop.
Yeah, but you don't. You just ride straight past
We haven't
it.
seen one yet.
My
Yeah, but what
ear's
you do?
hurting.
Is it, dear?
The estate we live on now, there's the various assortment of what I'd call ordinary family cars, your Rover and your Cavalier, a few Fiestas, and then smack bang in the middle there's a Vitara. Since we've had this car, we've been to Scarborough, Blackpool, standard places that you'd go, really.
I don't know, you go out and go somewhere. It's
You don't
got
rate-
a fun feeling.
We didn't
about
set
it.
off to Scarborough thinking, well, we'll get there in an hour and a half if we really put us foot down. We just said,
Yeah,
well,
bothered how
we'll
long it
get
took
there
us,
when
eh?
we get there. We just
It was
cruise
just nice
along.
being in the car.
We got an invite through the post for a fun day out with Suzuki.
When we parked up, there were like 2 rows all the way down, and they were just all Vitaras, all different colours, all different designs.
There were different graphics on them,
There were
or
some
different
beautiful
wheels on them.
ones, right? Some really fancy ones.
Each car seems
really.
to have its own fingerprint. Everybody knows.
You can pick your
which
own.
is their
can't you?
car.
If you have it from new, you can tell them what sort of designs that you want on it, and there won't be another one anywhere that's like yours.
Tiger. Here we are.
Bubby.
Cute. They're lollipop plastic.
What are you doing while I've been in here?
Just been doing a few poops. Love the smell of it.
Now be quiet and eat.
Don't make a mess with them.
A lot nicer colours on them these days. Used to be paper.
What you done?
It's terrible in here. Smells like sweaty socks. As far as I'm concerned, I think it is a very good family car. So we're a couple with 2 children. That doesn't mean that we can't have the car that we want, and the kids think it's great. You know, it's a trendy. Mum and Dad's trendy. Got a fun car.
Mum, can you see all the steam coming off it?
Yeah, it's because it's old stuff.
I know this quite rude one.
How rude.
Well, quite rude. This lady went to the doctor's and he checked her pulse and her heartbeat, and he said, "Can I wear your boobs, please?" And she said, "Of course you can." And so I went, "Way."
Lee. Pulling up to traffic lights, they're actually looking up at you. They're smaller than you and they want to beat you in another way. They want to show you that they're faster because you're bigger. You're higher than them. If you're higher up in the ranks, then you're better. That's the way I think. After we got the Vitara, the next move then was to join the Rhino Club, which is a club specially for Suzuki four-wheel drive car owners. And I was reading through the magazine, and in it there was a TV presenter who had bought a Vitara. And there was one bit that I read that he'd said, "I've always fancied a Jeep-type vehicle, and a lot of my friends have Range Rovers, but they're a bit straight. With the extras you can have, the Vitaras have a lot more individuality." And that was exactly how I felt when I bought mine.
I think there's an expectation where we live, in a sort of very deep rural community where people have lived there all their lives. The incomers like us will have Espaces, will have sort of very shiny cars that maybe aren't very good workhorses. But I think at least the Land Rover doesn't really rub people up the wrong way. It's a bit like going for a walk across the fields wearing a day-glow shell suit. You know, it's just not done. It's almost disrespectful to the environment if that's how you do it. In the same way, having green wellies and a Barber jacket can be seen to be a bit off as well if they're not really battered. And the Land Rover has the same sort of feeling. The Land Rover feels like it belongs in the countryside and is accepted for being there.
The area we lived in before was a large modern housing estate, and somehow parking this on our drive would have almost been ramming it down people's throats. Whereas where we live now, it's not unusual to see Land Rovers driving around in the country. It's used by everybody. I mean, there are the farmers use it as a workhorse. There are people like us who use it as a family car. You know, the Queen's got one that she uses on Balmoral. So it seems to be it crosses all boundaries, crosses all types of people, all types of nationalities. They're used all over the world. It just seems universal.
Being as high up as this in a Land Rover, for me, feels like wearing high-heeled shoes. It has the same sort of feeling.
It's also like a statement in as much as we've, raised our horizon. Whereas before we had a heap of a car which was full of rust and was falling apart and would backfire everywhere we went. It kind of lowered us socially, if you like, and now the Land Rover's kind of lifted us above all that.
That's right. You get into it and you don't instantly feel like the family grot on an outing. You know, you actually feel really good. Right, just go get in the car then, all right?
Yeah, on a minute. Shut the door.
I tell you what we're going to do, all right? We're going to...
Towards Ben.
Where's
So
my
I think so.
pillow?
Oh my god.
Okay, hang on. Right.
What we're going to do is you'll have a polo each, all right?
Yeah.
I'll put the mileometer back to naught,
Wow.
and the one who can keep the polo in their mouth for the longest is the winner, okay?
Wins another polo. Have you got your polo? Right, here, Lil.
I've got two.
Anyone? One. Ready?
Right.
in.
Ready, steady, go.
But you've got to have them in there the longest, then it mustn't
Yeah.
break.
Like a
And no
partner.
pushing them up your nose.
When I was younger, there was a poster, and it said, someday you'll own a big family car. Basically, you'll be a responsible, boring person. And until that day comes, drive an MG midget. And then I became a mother, and I sort of drove a lot of I'm going to Sainsbury's cars and wore sensible shoes and sort of became invisible. And the children took over everything. They took over the car, they took over me, they took over my personality. And when the Peugeot was on its last legs, the feeling was I don't want this anymore. I want to be an independent person. I want to enjoy the driving that I do. I want to enjoy myself, and that was very much part of my motivation for hassling Jerry into getting me a decent car.
Well, can I have polo?
Not anymore.
Haven't.
They're all gone.
Another
No, wait.
packet.
Apparently we're going to have our
Noses as well.
picnic. No, we're going to have a picnic
Where?
with the giraffes.
Oh yeah, because you're allowed to walk about in there, aren't you?
Ooh.
Apart from the giraffe. What is a big animal and it's grey?
Oh, I know. Elephant.
That's right.
It
What?
picks things up in its nose. It
Yeah.
blows things out of its nose.
But it takes water up its nose.
Blows out.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do elephants do with their noses?
And pick things up with it.
And
They pick leaves up, put them in.
They
their
swing in the
mouth.
trees by their nose, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't. That is kidding.
There's a monkey climbing up a tree. There's 3 up there, Hannah. Look. Oh, yeah. There's no more. Yeah. There's a monkey flying. Whee! Oh, that's on the mouse.
You see these monkeys, Hannah?
Yeah.
That one looks like Lily.
No, on the bonnet. On the bonnet.
That looks like you, Lily, that one.
Oh.
No, they're completely ignoring it.
Can we open the window?
No, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's to get in.
Oh, monkeys
What a
are
monkey
pulling
in here,
your
isn't it?
arm off.
Can you see that one eating? Look, it's got something in its hand and it's eating it.
Oh no, when are we gonna move?
I suppose we've always got this dream about selling the house, lock, stock and barrel, and just taking off, taking the kids out of school, packing them in. With an Espace or with a Volvo, you know, we'd probably get as far as a ferry and turn around and come back. With a Land Rover, we could actually pack everybody in it and just go.
There's a part of the Land Rover that although we remortgaged the house to buy it, we feel that it's part of our future. If things go terribly wrong, the house could go, everything in the house could go, we'd keep the car and we could just take off and the car could become our life. Whereas I can't see us doing that in a Volkswagen Polo. You know, I can't see us taking that across Africa.
The Range Rover's a vehicle that's quite happy in any company, really. You can turn up at the car park at Twickenham in one, you can turn up at the Opera in one, you can get a Glyndebourne in it and feel perfectly at home anywhere.
The nice thing about the Previa is it's not actually a car that really makes a very strong statement. It's sort of anonymous, which I think we quite enjoy.
I suppose at the end of the day I have a job and a lifestyle that just doesn't say Ford or Vauxhall. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
When I first started driving the Volvo, I realised I actually enjoyed it, and I thought to myself, oh gosh, maybe all my life I've been a closet Volvo driver, and I've suddenly come out of the closet.
Turn your Game Boy down, Tim. Turn the sound up. The first house as you come into the close has an Audi. Next to them they have an Orion, and next to those they have a Cavalier. After that comes my friend Brian with his Peugeot. Next to Brian is a Metro, and the last one is a Ford Orion. I'd compare it to others on the street, obviously. I'm the only one that's got a Volvo, only one with any sense, I think, you know, to drive one. And as far as I'm concerned, it is the best on this street. Oh, there's a 2 Series Volvo coming up now, look. Behind us, one of our old cars, look here. There it goes, look, same colour as what your granddad's were.
From when I was a little baby, all I can remember is having a Volvo, so I'd like him to have a change.
This one passing us, same colour but 9 Series. That's an SE, 940 SE.
He's always had Volvos, and my uncle's got a Volvo. My other uncle had a Volvo. My granddad's got a Volvo. I can't think of anyone else, but I'm sure if my nana could drive, she'd probably have a Volvo.
The image it seems to give to other people is one that they think you've got, you know, quite a bit of money. I'll put them in a similar bracket to probably the lower range BMWs. I'd certainly put them in higher class than any Ford.
It was quite funny recently. I went to the hairdressers, and the chap who owns the salon, he'd got some relative in who'd hired a Volvo, and I happened to say that we'd got a Volvo, and he said if I'd have known that, I'd have charged you extra. So, you know, it just sort of proves it's a bit of a status symbol. Sometimes when we're travelling it can get quite hectic. Sometimes the kids can be squabbling, and then you get me and Vaughan in the front.
Shouting at the kids.
Shouting at the kids in the back. It really can get quite over the top.
It gets annoying
sometimes.
if Carl's got his personal stereo on full blast, because it's not just him can hear it, everybody can hear it, and the type of music that he listens to just isn't my cup of tea. Right, so we put the rug down here?
Yeah,
that's
that's
okay.
Not a bad idea, that's fine.
Right, this way, still want to drink?
One of the journeys that we make every year would be down south to the New Forest. We love it down there. Plenty of space between all the caravans. When we're coming up home again, it looks grey and cloudy, and the roads look dirty, and we get this feeling of depression because we're coming back up north again. If money was no object, I'd move down south like a shot. We love it down there.
Alright, first one to spot a dinosaur cloud.
Oh no.
This is not far one up there, is it?
Nothing looks like anything today.
That looks... that looks like a dragon a bit, and its mouth's open, and it's just about gonna get that
Spit out fire.
Yeah, can you see it looks like a bit?
No.
The Mercedes isn't us at all. We're more of a get up and go anywhere type family. It's just too sophisticated, and I believe it actually gives people the wrong image of the type of family that we are.
I think the Mercedes probably would suit an older couple.
We're much more of a gung-ho Wellington boots, throw the dogs, the cats, the dog feed,
I think
the
if we
animal
were lined
feeding.
up as a family and you had to choose which car went with which family, I don't think for a minute the average person would say, oh yes, that Rowe family, they go with the Mercedes estate. I don't know what they might choose for us, but I don't really think they'd put us with the Mercedes.
Yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry.
Yellow
time.
Go on then.
Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red. Just got the lorry bit. Lorry, red, lorry, red, lorry, red, lorry, red, lorry, red, lorry, red, yellow, yellow.
The Shogun we had before this car suited us as a family, but purely because of financial reasons. We couldn't afford to keep it, and I purchased the Mercedes-Benz second-hand. And when my workload improves, we will acquire another 4x4 vehicle.
I don't think my mother was particularly enamoured when we got the Shogun. I thought it was great, and she seemed a little bit quiet about it and mumbled something about it being a bit Japanesey. And my father, who incidentally never really bore a grudge against anyone or anything, but he had been a prisoner of war in Japan for 4 years, and I think Mum thought, oh, why didn't they get a nice British Range Rover?
I spy my little eye something beginning with frog. No. Floor. Fence. No. Floor. No. Tell me when you get field. No. Fence. No. Firewood. No. Finger. No. I don't know. France.
I get pestered left, right and centre all the time, about getting another high-up four-wheel drive vehicle, you know. So, can we have something a little bit different, Dad? Can we go back to having a four-wheel drive, Dad? So you get that all the time, wherever you go. Anyone you have a bash at I Spy?
No.
Word game?
No. I don't want to do
You don't want to do anything?
later. I don't really have
Go
a
on, give on with you, lot. I think I've got 3 dwarfs in the back called Grumpy, Grumpy and Bloody Grumpy. Come on, let's put some music on. This is boring otherwise. I've got to drive all the way.
Yeah, go on.
Ding, ding.
ready now. Ooh-cha. Woo. Of looking down. Ready? Whoa, whoa. For the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa. For the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa. For the wings of a dove. Whoa, whoa. For the wings of a dove.
The majority of other people that I see in the Mercedes-Benz estates, they get out the picnic tables, they get out the actual picnic hamper, which has probably arrived from Harrods, and we're sat down having egg and cress and a couple of cans of beer. And I think that really is the major difference between us as a family and the majority of other people that I see actually drive Mercedes.
An estate car does say I'm a grown-up. An estate car says I have responsibilities. But I think the Audi is the sexiest of them. And yeah, I think it's great fun.
The Preview, I think, is a great car for the kids because they can just walk around inside. It's more like a room for them. Joe can get over the back seat, he can play football when it's raining in the back. It's a sort of car that's more like a playground for the children than anything else.
Before I had the baby, my friend said to me, oh, you'll be going to coffee mornings and you'll be driving a Volvo. And I said, never in a month for Sundays. And what is it? I'm going to coffee mornings and I'm driving a Volvo.
The family are nipping over to France for a weekend. We're going to visit somewhere that we want to buy some wine. The Range Rover is perfect because there's room for a few cases in the back.
One currant bun in a baker's shop, round and fat with sugar on the top. Along came a
Stanley with a belly white bay, bought a caravan
and took it away. Currant buns in a baker's shop. We first started noticing as spasses, I think, was the twins at the bottom of our street.
No, that's not right.
Is that not?
No, because you have always.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
I
we
never
started
noticed them, but you really wanted one for ages and ages.
But you, I mean, combined was when you saw the twins, because the twins have got one and they've got anything like that. Of course, it's an older one, it's an older style one, so it's a different shape to ours. But that's when we first started seeing them.
And it just grew, didn't it?
Yeah. We used
like
to
true love does. It started with just snatches, and then it grew where
Just
we
in a
were
spat,
like following them round,
yeah.
didn't it? And you know we used to follow it because Stanley says, even before we had an espas, Stanley used to say, I mean his first words virtually, even before, there's a spas, there's a spas, before you could hardly speak, he used to say it. He did.
That's not
did. He's embarrassed, but you did, didn't you? The main thing for me for the espas was swivelling the seats round and the picnic facilities, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we went to look at one and it didn't have all the picnic facilities, did it? It didn't have the picnic tables on the back, and I just said, well, I don't want it.
And of course, and the other thing.
And the man said, well, you're going to make a decision like that over a plastic picnic table, but you see, I was, wasn't it?
We were. We didn't buy his car, did we?
No, we didn't, because it didn't have a plastic picnic.
Didn't have a plastic picnic table. I think one of the other things is that the other thing is just like it's a really good car because like when we had Betty, you were breastfeeding a lot, and it's like the ultimate breastfeeding car, isn't it?
Yeah. We paid lip service to estate cars. We went and looked at them, didn't we?
We did.
But all the time at the back of the mind is going, but it's not in a spas.
What we want is in a spas.
Not in a spas.
But it represented the dangerous choice, as it were, because basically a more sensible choice could be like a Sierra Estate or something like that. And so basically, when we actually decided to buy it, it was like kind of a daring thing to do, and it probably represents the most daring thing we've ever done in our lives. Because although we actually like to think that we like just get up and go, we're just like those kind of get up and go people and go everywhere. Think like we're just a minute's notice. We just do it like. It just takes us ages, and we really plan it, and we never really do anything like that that's really adventurous. And really, basically, we've always taken the safe, mature options, and this represents our most frivolous purchase, which I think in one sense is quite sad, really. It's very sad that, you know, like a car represents our most dangerous manoeuvre. It has a European feel to it, probably more than most cars have. It's like actually feels a bit continental, I suppose. We like European things. I mean, the week before we got the car, I tried to get a European flag for it, because I'd seen them, you know, you see them all driving around, you get the European flags and stuff like that. And eventually, in actual fact, this last holiday, I actually found the actual flag that I wanted, but up until this point we've had to make do with a GB sticker with European stars on it.
I mean, it's good if they fall asleep. That's the best bit of the car. But
if they're awake, then we can. You'll get in the back. You'll get in the back with them.
We've got a new game with Stan, haven't we? We've not really been able. See, where we usually play games, he's not always been able to play because like we don't. Well, he's
they're
too
super
young.
complex.
Yeah, and you have to be really, really clever.
And you don't want to be beaten by a 3-year-old.
That's right. But we've got this new one, and it's like how do you make? It's called. You see, and what you do is Stanley. You go around asking questions like, example, how do you make? Look, my mind's gone blank. I'm not very
How
good
do you
at
make
it.
a video recorder?
Yeah, how do you make your suit?
Then I'll go. First you get plastic, then metal,
And you go,
then you mix it all together,
and that's it.
Right,
and then
Dad,
he'll go,
how do you make
a mountain?
We sing songs. I mean, we try and sing songs, but he usually gives it. He either does that if he's not in it. He then just goes like this and slams onto his ears.
Stop singing, stop singing.
So we carry on even louder, just to really irritate him. That's the other game.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is
irritating the kids.
Singing Stanley is a bogey.
Yeah, that's what we do. So when he goes, Stanley is a bogey face, a doo-dah, a doo-dah. Stanley is a bogey face, doo-dee-doo-dah day. He likes poo-poo, a doo-dah. Which really irritates him.
Yeah, and then he'll be going like this, oh no, stop it, stop it, stop it.
So what you have to do is to get him in a good mood.
Stanley is a lovely doo-dah, doo-dah. Stanley is a lovely doo-dee-doo-dah day. What do you want?
A Happy Meal, please.
Happy Meal. Like a hamburger in your Happy Meal.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. What drink
What?
would you like with it?
A toy and a Coke.
Coca-Cola. And would you like tomato ketchup? Yeah. Okay. Anything else in your order, sir?
Yeah, a fish for Betty and 2 Coke and 2 coffees, please.
Fillet of fish and 2 coffees.
Yes, please.
Would you like any pies or donuts?
No, thank you.
Okay.
That'll get the first one because it's drinks. Okay, thank you. Right, let's pop that there. Can you grab that one? Alright, thank you. Grab that one. Do you want some balloons? Yes, please. There you go.
Please.
Thank you.
Oh, look at them.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Look at them balloons.
Our balloons back. Cheers.
Thank you.
I've got mine. Look.
Have you got yours? Well, what, we just got to wait till we get into the car park.
Look, I got.
We'll turn the seats round.
Alright, then. And you jump. You jump over there. Right, are you over?
Right.
Right, one sec. You bet.
How are we going to that?
You know, got you can have a table.
Alright, Bet, we're going to get you some fillet of fish. There's a table here. There we go.
In your imagination, if you see a car park, you'd see estate cars and you'd see saloon cars, and it would just be like grey sky, you know, and the people would just be sitting there. And if you had an espas in this car park, the sun would be shining and there would be like a rainbow and birds twittering all around it, and all the people would be really happy and smiling because it's just such a fun car to us.
Maybe my hearing must be going. I can't even hear a thank you.
People who've never seen a family driving a rent-a-wreck before, obviously they just don't know how to interpret it. I mean, are they poor people who can't afford anything better? Are they people who don't care what they drive? Are they rich people who just don't give a sod?
A couple of years ago, we had a Montego estate, good lifestyle, and then the recession hit us very badly and we lost that all. And we hired Rent-A-Wreck because they were a cheap option and they were the only option at the time.
The area that we live in is mainly retired people and people who are sort of comfortable. The main cars they drive are Peugeots, Volvos, and of course when we brought the first yellow car home, I mean there was horrified looking faces from behind curtains as we pulled the car into the driveway.
So I found when I used to take the children to school in the Rent-A-Wreck, I used to deliberately be late, so no one saw me because it was an embarrassment. It advertised the fact that you'd probably lost your money and you lost your car.
Like wearing a placard around your neck saying I'm poor.
Yeah. The first one caught fire. The wipers fly off when it's pouring down with rain. The windows often drop into the doors, and quite often the petrol gauges didn't work. So you always had to be prepared. You always had to carry a gallon of petrol with you, just in case.
I don't want to go in the middle. I don't want to go in the middle.
No, you sit here. You sit there.
Well, Pete's got to get in. Mum, why do I have to be in the middle? I hate being in the middle. Ow!
Come on, no, stop it. Stop it.
Hey, look at me.
Be nice to one another. Come on.
Mum, last night we played, what's it called?
Kiss Jacks?
Was it Does He Duck?
I thought you were babysitting.
No, we didn't babysit. We went to their, they had like a little party thing on.
Oh, yeah. And what's this party then?
All Cold Rose chaps.
Oh, the Navy guys.
No, I think they're all like married and stuff.
Oh.
Make no difference.
Mum.
I thought you were going to babysit coming bowling at 12 o'clock.
I did not bowl in at 12.
You did bowl in
No,
at 12
I
o'clock.
didn't.
She did.
I came in at 11.
She did.
5 to 11.
She did.
We're driving along and I look in my rear view mirror, as I normally do, and there's 3 children sitting there. Sonia in the middle. We go past some of her friends, I look in the rear view mirror, and Sonia's slipped down onto the floor, and she's begging me not to let her friends know that she's actually in the car. So what I normally do is just stop and shout to her friends, and of course this gets Sonia into a panic. She's totally embarrassed by the car. When we're driving around in our rickety rentals, we feel as if we're living within our means. There's no pretense about us, and that's it. I mean, we're not investing lots of money to maintain an image which we can't afford. And that's why I would rather drive around in a yellow wreck than have a car on HP that I couldn't afford to pay for.
I don't expect a really flashy car. If they had the money, it'd be nice, but just something normal, like a Fiesta or something, like all your friends' parents have.
Every car on the road has an image for the people that drive it, and one of the things that really appeals to me about the Land Rover is the fact that it doesn't have an image. It doesn't say anything about us at all.
The Vitara suits us because we're very outgoing. We like to go to different places, and I feel that this car can get us anywhere.
I suppose I just feel that the Mercedes is rather a smoothie type of car, and I don't think we're a smoothie type of family.
A lot of people don't like Volvos. A lot of people wouldn't dream of going out and buying one, but it suits us as a family, and as far as I'm concerned, we're sticking with Volvo.
It adds to our family. It's like our hobby. You know, we don't go windsurfing, we go espassing.
B. B. Yeah.
Broom.
Nope.
Brakes.
Nope.
Bodies.
Nope.
I can't think of anything beginning with B.
Oh, I'll tell you anyway. B. Buildings.
Oh, very good.
Dad, can we just go outside so I can go to the
You're nearly home.
toilet? I can't stand 5 minutes.
You'll be back.
I'll probably
In a
piss
minute.
myself by then. Funny.
Believe you me, you do that, you'll end up walking home.
I can remember when I pissed myself in assembly.
Yeah, so can I.
Oh yeah, and they
I
said
think the whole village heard about
a
that.
pair of crumpling flared trousers that were about the foot too short.
So you're not
sent them home in
having
a pair
a wee
of
in the bloody
flares.
car. We'll be home in 5 minutes and that's it, okay?